Vishnu Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschita Rishata Ine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katam Maya Darati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhescha Kripa बन्धुभ्येव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Dear devotees, welcome to today's class. And just to say that this is quite a long class, so I'm going to try and give it my best short. And it's entitled The Secret Caves of Govardhan, originally by His Holiness Indradumna Swami, but I have taken some nectar out of there, and I've actually entitled it differently as well. So let's go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So today I'm going to take you on a journey. We're going to take you on a tour through the descriptions of the residents of Vraja and their loving sentiments towards Krishna. Also the description of Govardhan and its forests and caves. This is given to us by the previous acharyas who, through their meditation or samadhi, could envision all of these pastimes happening at Govardhan Hill. Even today, these pastimes are still going on, but because we are so conditioned, we cannot see and relish these pastimes. So let us see them through the eyes of our purified acharyas. So please stay tuned for some ambrosial nectar. Listen to the language of love and you will be truly amazed. So let's start. We are starting at the point where the storm is finished, right? And let's see what happens thereafter. We all know the pastime of how Krishna lifted the Govardhan Hill, but we don't know what happened after that. So I'm taking you on this journey now, right? So here Krishna, after the storm abated, he looked around and he's, could see the Brajavasis were like staring at him. They couldn't take their eyes off him. And they were so mesmerized by his beauty that they kept staring at Krishna. And Krishna is thinking, the storm is over. Why is everyone not moving? And he decided to do something about it. So he spoke up. He said, my dear cowherd men, the rain has now abated and you may go home with your wives, children, and cows. Then he looked up at Govardhan and said, all glories to our savior, Govardhan Hill. The thunderous roar of this king of mountains made the clouds tremble in fear, and it dried up the deluge that it brought upon our heads. He hosted us in the lofty palace of his pure and magnanimous heart, but we should now leave this place and return to our own homes. So confident that Giriraj is forever our protector and well-wisher, right? Thereafter, all the Brajvasis start shouting, Giri Govardhan ki jai, all glories to Giri Govardhan. They started to go out, headed by the cowherd boys, the Gopas. And what did they see when they were stepped out of the vicinity of the shelter of Govardhan? They saw that the Vrindavan was restored to its original glory. They saw that the forest animals were dancing and prancing around. Rivers and streams were flowing Muddy roads were dried up, and the air was filled with sounds of singing birds and buzzing bees. The acharyas say that the cowherd boys were the first to walk out and were encouraging the cows to come along. Where the cows were grazing, were gazing at Krishna and had lost their interest that previously brought them pleasure. But with some coaxing by the cowherd boys, they dashed out like a volley of arrows, and they danced and kicked about. Then they looked back and saw that Krishna was still beneath the mountain, holding it up. So they ran back inside and they licked his body continuously. So we could just meditate and we could just envision this whole scene, right? At how the cows came out, and then when they saw Krishna still inside, they quickly ran to him, and they showered him with so much of affection by licking him. So this time Krishna took it upon himself to drive them out with a familiar flute melody and compassionate glances. So, when Krishna wants to call the cows, he always plays his flute and the cows come running to him. And now to even drive them out, he's playing his flute so that the cows would get the message, we need to go out. So then that's how they streamed out. Then the rest of the Brajbasis also streamed out, singing the glories of Krishna, their kirtan resonating throughout the length and breadth of the valley beneath Govardhan. It was so powerful that it made Giriraj, which was still on Krishna's finger, to shiver in ecstasy. So as the gopis passed Krishna, their effulgence turned Krishna's color into the color of molten gold. So, and all the older cowherd ladies and men, they were thinking like, what is this? Now Krishna has turned golden. How come? And but when the gopis passed him, then he returned to his original color of Shyamasundar. Krishna lingered a little more just to relish the pastimes of Govardhana Hill, and was thinking of Govardhana Hill as Haridasavarya, this best servant of Krishna. And who else but Govardhana Hill can render such uninterrupted service that even Mother Yashoda does not do so, right? So Krishna is thinking like this, that Govardhana Hill is the best of all my servants, because he has stayed on my finger for 7 days and 7 nights without any interruption. And he says that even Mother Yashoda is interrupted, when she's feeding me and there's milk boiling on the stove, then she runs to tend to the milk, and she basically interrupts her service to me. And then he speaks about the gopis, and he says at the nights, and the cowherd girls would run home to their husbands that would stir in their beds, fearful that our love would be discovered but Giriraj did not care about relatives or scorn of the demigods. He stayed upon my finger despite untold difficulty. From now on, he should be known as the best of my servants. So we see this is how Giriraj got his name, Haridasavarya, the best of Krishna's servants, right? And then making sure that no one was left behind, Krishna set Giriraj down in the previous location. And how did he do so? By playfully tossing the mountain off his hand as nonchalantly as a child drops a ball. Like he just tossed Giriraj off his hand. Then Krishna came out from the same cave that he entered in. When he went to lift up the cave, when he went to lift up the mountain, he entered through a certain cave. But now, when he comes out of the cave, come out of beneath the hill, then he puts the hill down and he comes out from the same cave that he entered And so yeah, so the Brajbasis gave Krishna, they all looked at Krishna as he was coming out, and it felt like that, like, although it was just a short while that Krishna was inside the cave, and when he came out, it felt like um 12 years or more, like how in the Shastastikam it is said that a moment seems like 12 years or more. So similarly, this moment seemed very, very long, because just a few moments had passed, right? And the Brajbasis felt like eternity. uh, so eventually, the Brajbasis, they felt so much of separation, right? And when they saw Krishna, everyone was in silence, as if seeing Krishna for the first time. This is due to Yogamaya's potency. They missed Krishna so much. This is real love. Suddenly, everyone started running towards Krishna. Animals and humans, as they ran, tears streamed down their eyes. The first ones to go to Krishna are the Gopas, the cowherd boys, because they are young, and their parents, Krishna's parents, stumbled as they went to embrace him. Then the elderly gopis and the gopas went towards Krishna. They kissed him lovingly, massaged his arms, and cracked his fingers on his left hand, offered auspicious benedictions, and repeatedly asked about his welfare. So we see that because his left hand, he lifted Govardhan with his left hand, of his little finger of his on his left hand, the Brijbasis were massaging his hand, and they're breaking, the knots. They cracked his fingers. They say they cracked his fingers of his left hand. So this is how much of affection that they had for him. They worshipped him with rice, paddy, yogurt, and fresh grass. The Brahmanas and their wives came and offered him blessings. Mother Yashoda hugged him again and again. And Rohini Devi, she also has this motherly love for Krishna, and she offered him arati with a jeweled ghee lamp, and she embraced Krishna even before she embraced her own son Balaram. The cowherd boys began massaging Krishna's feet. Some kissed his glistening toenails. The gopis also worshipped Krishna, but with their sidelong glances and their lotus faces blossoming with desires. So we see that the gopis could not go directly to Krishna because all their elders were around, right? So they could not go to Krishna like that because of the respectful attitude they had towards their elders. So they worshipped him with their sidelong glances. So that's how it's been described by the acharyas. All the Brajbasis gazed with renewed appreciation at Giriraj. Giriraj was a favorite place for the Brijbasis because they would herd their cows there. They would do some planting. They would, have their rendezvous at Radha and Krishna would have their rendezvous at Giriraj and Govardhan, and so like this, they all appreciated Giriraj for being their savior. Just as we have love and appreciation for our preceptors that has taken us out of the entanglement of this world, so we owe our whole lives to them. So similarly, the Brijbasis, they owe their whole life to Krishna. So Giriraj his appearance is minutely described by different sadhus, and Srila Gurudev says that as one worships Krishna, accordingly Krishna will reciprocate in that way. And we find that the devotees, they have different mellows of rasas that they enjoy with Krishna. And here we see that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes Govardhan like this. He says that Giriraj is shaped like a peacock, as a resting peacock, and his head is tucked to one side. Kusum Sarova is Giriraj's face. Manasi Ganga is his neck. Mukuravinda is his mouth. The two tear-filled eyes are Radhakund and Shamakund. The tail of the peacock begins at Balaram's Tali and ends at Punchari Kund. So then we have another very great devotee, Narad Muni, who describes Giriraj in a different manner. And this is taken out from the Garga Samhita, Canto 3, Chapter 8. And he says, below Shringara Mandala is Giriraj's mouth, where the people of Raja made a hill of food, right? You know, the Anakut ceremony, where Giriraj was asking for more and more, Aniyor, I want more food, right? So the Brajbasis, they made a line and went back to their houses and they got whatever they could find in their possession, you know, whatever food they could find in their possession, they brought it all to Giriraj, because Giriraj wasn't being satisfied, right? And so like this, only when they put the tulsi leaf, then Giriraj was satisfied. So we see that here, this place is called Shringara Mandala, right? Giriraj's mouth. So this is where the Anakut ceremony was held. And Manasi Ganga is his eyes. Chandra Sarova is his nose. Govinda Kund is his lips. And Shamakund and Radhakund is his tongue. Lalita Kund is his cheeks. Gopal Kund is his ears. Kusum Sarova is his inner ear. Moli Sila or Moli Shila, which is marked with the crown, is his forehead. Chitrasila, which is decorated with pictures, is his head. And Padani Shila, which is decorated with musical notes, is his throat. Kanduka Tirtha is his two sides, or are his two sides. Ashista Tirtha is his waist. Drona Tirtha is his back, and Lokika Tirtha is his belly. Kadamba Kandi is his chest. Shringara Mandala is his life air. Krishna's footprints is Giriraj's heart. And Krishna's handprint is Giriraj's intelligence. Airavata's footprints is Giriraj's feet, and Surabhi's footprints are Giriraj's wings. So Giriraj can also fly, right? He has wings. Panchari Kund is Giriraj's tail. Vasa Kund is Giriraj's strength. Rudra Kund is Giriraj's anger. Sakra Sarova is Giriraj's desire. Kuvera Tirtha is his determination. Brahma Tirtha is his cheerfulness. And Yama Tirtha is Giriraj's ego. Narad Muni gives us a benediction just by hearing all of this. And he says, the one who hears the glories of Giriraj becomes the best of persons and goes to Golok, the supreme abode. One who hears all these minute details of Giriraj Govardhan, that person can in due time go to Golok of Vrindavan. So it is also being described that the big boulders that are situated on Giriraj are actually splendid jewels, and they serve Radha and Krishna and the cowherd boys as has couches. It's so soft, making them suitable for Radha and Krishna to sit. Krishna walks barefoot on Vrindavan, around Vrindavan. And, sometimes his mother would say, Krishna, you should wear a pair of shoes because the thorns may prick you. And Krishna refuses to wear um, shoes. And he says that if you have to give me shoes, then you have to get shoes for all of my cows and calves. So in that way, Mother Yashoda, she gives up that idea. Right? So we see the gopis see Krishna sporting on Giriraj with his bare feet, and they faint because, they see that the stones and the thorns may prick his lotus feet, so they cannot stand that. And it is being described that the stones immediately turn soft, like walking on feathered pillows when Krishna steps on them. It makes the surface of the mountain like a cushion. So in the Vraja Vijaychintamani, many forests, it is described that there are many forests around Giriraj, Govardhana Hill. And we'll describe these forests now, and also the caves later on. So let's just describe this forest. And he says that the beauty of these forests cannot be described. Nothing is comparable, because these forests are so beautiful, but somehow or the other, the previous acharyas give us a hint of what these forests are. And it says even the forest in Vaikuntha pales in comparison to these forests. Excuse me. Some have varieties of trees that are that are very well kept, and some have trees which are so dense that you cannot penetrate through. And it makes it very difficult for the cowherd boys to go through, right? Some have one type of birds, and others are known for their flowers. Like one has only champak flowers, others for their medicinal herbs and leaves, and one only neem trees. So these different forests have different varieties. Some have varieties, and some are just only one type of trees, like the neem tree. Some have medicinal herbs, and some have like one type of flower, the champak flower or the malika flower, like this. So this is how these forests are described, right? All of the forests serve various purposes, like grazing cows. Some are off limits to the gopis, right? When the cowherd boys are playing there, the gopis don't go there. And some are off limits to the cowherd boys, right? Because it's only for the gopis and for Krishna, right? So only Krishna is allowed in those forests. Then the trees, vines, and bushes personally offer fruits, flowers, berries, honey, nectar, and pollen to Krishna and his associates. The gentle breezes carry a special aroma that defeats the scented breezes coming from the Malayan hills, which is full of sandalwood, right? So you will find the sandalwood scent is so sweet, right? And when you go to the Malayan hills, you will find that it's very, very, the sandalwood is very expensive, right? And there's Srila Gurudev says that there are many snakes that live on sandalwood trees, but in this little forest of sandalwood trees, it basically defeats the aroma of the scented breezes coming from the Malayan hills. So now let's go on to the caves of Govardhan. And we see that the caves of Govardhan are very, very special. And inside these caves are marble mosaics, painting, and jewel lamps, stocks of delicious snacks and drinks, right, for the divine couple. and for the cowherd boys, whoever, decides to go in one of them. And we are not qualified to see all of this until we get Krishna Prem, right? And until our hearts are cleansed thoroughly, then only can we actually see, can all this be revealed to us. Therefore, we should keep chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in order for hearts to become purified and in order for us to see all of this. And we can see it with our very eyes, if we become purified. And Srila Gurudev says when it rains, it keeps Krishna and his friends dry. When they go into these caves, it keeps them dry. And it expands big enough to accommodate all of Nanda Maharaj's cows. And he has 900,000 cows. So can you imagine this little cave can expand so much so that it can accommodate the 900,000 cows. And sometimes when it rains, Krishna enters alone. And sometimes when it's very hot, right, the midday heat, then he goes in and his friends come along and they massage his feet. And, in this way, they most probably will crack jokes, and just to pacify Krishna, they will fan him. They will, just to cool him off like this. So these Gopas have a very, very special relationship with Krishna. And we can see from Krishna book how the Gopas, they relate with Krishna, right? They massage him, they fan him, they play jokes with him, and they'll put a flower in his mouth. Krishna, close your eyes and, open your mouth. And Krishna does that. And then what happens? They put a dandelion or a flower into his mouth. So we see that they have some loving exchanges with Krishna in this way. So Gurudev says at one point, Sri Dham, when Krishna wound up his pastimes, and he went into a cave and just mourned and cried himself to sleep. He didn't wake for thousands of years. And how did Sri Dham wake up then? He was there for thousands and thousands of years. So it is said that when Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya, he was still missing Sri Dham. And Lord Chaitanya feared that his mission would not be accomplished if Sri Dham wasn't there. So once when Lord Nityananda was doing Govardhan Parikram, he understood that Sri Dham was still asleep in one of the caves. So he went around Govardhan, and he's to that specific cave, and he started to call for Sri Dham. Sri Dham, Sri Dham, Sri Dham, where are you? Please wake up. Then Sri Dham woke up. Lord Nityananda convinced him to join Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. In the Gaura Ganadeshika Dipika, Sri Dham was Ramdas Abhiram Thakur. So somehow along the way to Mayapur, as Nityananda Prabhu took Sri Dham, then Sri Dham changed into Ramdas Abhiram Thakur. So, and this is how he engaged in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And now Krishna, the acharyas say that most of the pastimes in these caves are with Krishna's milkmaids. And he says there's one cave called Manikandali. This is Radharani's favorite cave, located at the southern tip of Govardhana Hill. And it's situated at the southern tip of Govardhana Hill, and it was a bhajan kuti of Raghava Pandit. He would come out of his cave and he would roll in the dust, and this was his decoration of his body, right? Vrajarenu. We see that in Vrajarenu is means the dust of Raj, right? And we see that even devotees today, when they go to Vrindavan, they roll in the dust of Raj, because this dust of Raj is actually a replicated in this world as dust, but in the spiritual world, the dust of the spiritual world is made up of jewels, basically, and gemstones. So, and in this material world, it is the replica is the Rajarenu, this dust of Vrindavan, which is so special. So Srimati Radharani is so much identical with these caves that she's given names according to these caves. In the Stavavali, it is being described that Govardhan, that one of her name is Govardhan Guha Lakshmi, hidden treasure of Govardhan cave. This is her name, Govardhan Guha Lakshmi, hidden treasure of Govardhan. And another name is given to Radharani as Govardhan Guha Gehe Grihini. Govardhan Guha Gehe Grihini, the housewife whose real home is the Govardhan, is a cave at Govardhan, right? So when Krishna left Vrindavan and he stayed in Dwarka with his queens, he would often remember these pastimes of Srimati Radharani in the caves of Govardhan. Now, if you read Krishna book, you will find the pastimes in Dwarka and how astonishing they were, because Krishna would remember his pastimes of the gopis and he would call out their names in his sleep. And, the wives of Krishna, the queens, would become so bewildered, like, who are these people? Who are these ladies that Krishna keeps calling for them? And we see that because their love, the Braja Gopis' love, was so unadulterated, that Krishna always remembered them. And therefore he would call out their names like this. And this is how he remembered the pastimes in the caves of Govardhan, right? And Uddhava writes a letter to Lalita, and he tells her, my dear Lalita, Vraja's king does not at all desires the crowd of princesses who wait for him in the jewel palaces, with their beds softer than sea foam and decorated with chamaras and jewel peacock fans. Krishna is continuously remembering Radha and his playful pastimes with her in the cave at the base of Govardhana Hill. As such, he continuously faints again and again and again. Srila Prabhupada said that simply by hearing the glories of Krishna, one gets purified, right? Especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is filled with philosophy, astronomy, sociology, politics, bhakti, love of Krishna, right? And if we basically listen to these topics, then our hearts will become purified. Like in the Bhagavatam, it is stated, Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. That just by listening to these classes on the Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotees, our hearts, which is full of all the dirt and grime, will become cleansed just by listening to the Bhagavatam classes. And Srila Prabhupada says, even if one does not understand a single word of the mantra in Srimad Bhagavatam, the vibrations of these mantras have such powers that you will become purified. One becomes pious automatically just by listening to the Bhagavatam. When a person receives the seeds of transcendental devotional service, he should take care of it by watering the seed. And how does he water the seed? By hearing and chanting. So the seed of devotional service is implanted within our hearts, and we need to nurture this seed and make it blossom until it reaches the Krishna's lotus feet in the spiritual world. And we must continuously do so by hearing and chanting, and thus we will be purified. And Gurudev quotes Alankara Kastuba by Kavi Karnapur just to end off this lecture. And we say here, he says that the natural behavior of saintly persons is that they are shy when praised, unexcited by wealth, grave due to spiritual knowledge, meek and humble due to fame, sorrowful on account of their deficiencies, and always controlled by love and affection. I'll read that again. By Kavi Karnapur, he says that the natural behavior of saintly persons is that they are shy when praised, unexcited by wealth, grave due to spiritual knowledge, meek due to fame, sorrowful on account of their deficiencies, and always controlled by love and affection. So, dear devotees, I hope you relished that this beautiful pastime of Govardhana Hill. It's something that we haven't heard before because it's not there in our scriptures, right? But it's from the heart of the acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, like this. It's coming from their hearts. And these scripts were found in the Vrindavan Institute, where Srila Gurudev went, and he, discovered these treasures. And this is how he is revealing Vrajadham or Govardhana Hill to us. And I found this was so, so beautiful. When I first heard this lecture about a year ago, and I was so convinced, and I was so mesmerized by all of these descriptions of the hill by the Brajabasis, and like this. So, and I said, no, I want to somehow incorporate this in one of my classes. And here I get the opportunity to recite this class on Govardhan Puja, well, a day after Govardhan Puja. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And yeah, thank you for that. If you would like to say anything, you're most welcome to share your experience or your realizations about Govardhan Hill. If you've been, or if you haven't been also, you can, from this class, you can share something. Let's hear from one of you. Shamaine, maybe?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I've been to Govardhan, and yeah, I was quite mesmerized. It has yeah, it's a wonderful place to be. I just have a question, okay, about Shigerad's ego. Okay, can you explain a little bit more? I'm interested.
Yes, so this is spiritual ego.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the ego that we have in this material world. Srila Gurudev says it's spiritual ego. So it's here we have false ego, but Giriraj has true ego, because he's serving Krishna. And we can also develop our true ego by devotional service.
Sure.
False ego is to think that I am this body, and everything related to me is mine. So, but spiritual ego is to think that everything is for Krishna. So Giriraj's ego is that, he's the highest devotee, Hari Dasavarya. So his ego is spiritual.
Sure. Thank you for that, Mata.
Hare Krishna. Tenzin?
No questions. I just enjoyed listening to all the pastimes. Learned a lot. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anyone else? Shalene, are you there? You can unmute and.
Mother Ranga. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna.
Very well. Thank you for it. Was actually a very delightful class, and I'm very grateful for being a part of this, for sitting on the class. So I just wanted to ask, and is Giriraj meant to be looked at as one of the greatest servants of Krishna, or is he Krishna himself? Like in that pastime of Ani, give me more. Who is saying that? Is that Krishna saying it, or is that Giriraj as a servant?
Yes, so you can take Giriraj as it either way. It all depends on your mood in worshiping Giriraj. You can take him as the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, or you can take him as a servant of Krishna. But it depends on your mood and how you worship Giriraj. So, but most devotees take Giriraj as the supreme personality of Godhead, as Krishna himself, because when he was eating everything, it was Krishna who was eating everything, right? And Krishna, he took the form of Giriraj. He is Giriraj, in that way. So Krishna can be his best servant as well, like he came down as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show us how to be servants of himself, of Krishna, right? Devotees of Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's a devotee, right? Of Krishna.
Right.
Right. And he's Krishna also. So, this.
No, so maybe my question was a bit silly, but I hear you. Thank you for clearing that up.
So it's simultaneously one and different. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva.
Haribol, thank you.
Haribol. Hare Krishna. Paramatma Prabhu, anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for sharing a wonderful class. Maharaj, nothing from my side. I just enjoyed listening to your class. But I did hear another class earlier today. Mother's were giving a class on Govardhana Puja, and she was saying that Giriraj, Lord Giriraj is very merciful and humble because he lets everyone walk all over him, So we can learn from humbleness in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you for your contribution. So we'll just end with the short kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare
Hare Krishna Maji,
Krishna.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Mata.
Kripa Sindhu Devacha. Patitanam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.